God damn it.
What the fuck?
Oh! Holy shit! So I'm going now to pick up the Grand Marquis. It's gonna be probably the easiest car pickup ever, even more so than the Envoy, which I had bought maybe 7 blocks up. I had to cross a major street. This guy's house is literally straight down to the left, probably a 15-minute walk at the most, maybe even 10, and a few minutes on my longboard. So no sense paying for an Uber. Got my arsenal over here. Let me see. This one, I need to swap the bearings out. So let's go ahead and take this guy. Just need some grip tape, but it's such a short distance. I'm gonna bother putting on some shoes because I'll be there in a jiffy. I'm making the long commute now to go pick up the Grand Marquis. I'm almost there. I've been on the board for maybe a minute and 30 seconds, so probably another 2 minutes or so and I'll be there. Coming up on her now. All right, so I'm in the Grand Marquis. I'm driving home the whopping 1,000 feet. It's got no gas in it. I'm gonna have to throw, I even put a plate on it, so I'm gonna throw a tag on it when I get home and take it and put some gas in it later. But 85,000 miles. I don't think it's the buy of the century by any means. Grand Marquis really don't have that much resale value, but I love its one owner / maintenance history qualities. I mean, it's got a rebuilt transmission, it's got all new ball joints, new front tires, oil change records, you name it. It was an old woman's car up till she died, and now the son sold it to me. So again, I think maintenance wise, mileage wise, you can't go wrong for 500 bucks, and the body on it is pretty much immaculate. I was always in a carport. This car has been in this neighborhood since the day it came home, so I think that's cool. So I'm pulling in my driveway now. I'm gonna show you guys what's up. That didn't even take me a minute to get home. I leave on the key. So I will go through everything the car needs. Now the reason I didn't videotape when I initially looked at the car is it was just totally out of random. I'd seen it for sale in front of the guy's house on my way home. I popped it and checked it out, and to be honest, there was no price on it, so I figured it was your classic overpriced. Kids think it's worth more money than it really is, but no, he was asking $800, and this was a few days ago, and I offered $500. He goes, let me think about it, and that was 2 days ago, and I got the text this morning saying he'd take it. Here it is. Again, it's nothing special. I don't think it's a killer deal, but it certainly isn't a bad deal. The only reason I don't think it's a killer deal is the AC doesn't. The AC works, but he honest guy, told me, you know, it wasn't working. He topped it off with Freon, and it's getting warm again, which clearly it must be leaking. You can see the clutch is cycling, so it's low on Freon. So, worst case scenario, we're talking a compressor. Best case scenario, maybe a line is leaking or something. The car's got 85,000 miles, so I'm hoping it might be something more minor. But either way, I'm not too worried about that. Pretty simple procedure in this car. Cost isn't too bad. Aside from that, it really doesn't need anything at all. It doesn't leak any oil. The tires in the front are brand spanking new. The rear tires are gone on it. They're literally down to nothing, so I'm gonna have to replace those, but you guys know me, I'll throw some used ones on there. Be nice if I could find a nice set of Crown Vic or Grand Marquis or even Lincoln wheels for it, actual wheels, not these hubcaps, but they're not the worst. But you can see the body is straight as an arrow on this car. It is immaculate. There is no issues with the paint. I love white cars. There's like one little area over here that's, see if I remember. That's the worst of it right there. Otherwise, this car is immaculate. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it yet. It's funny, you heard me in one of the last videos saying that I need to start selling cars because I wanted to make the Bullet and the Element my sole daily drivers and the rest toys. But I'm kind of thinking about it. I mean, this car, kind of like the Aurora, there's not too much money to be made on it. And the reason the suspension looks so funny right now is because this is an uphill and that's a dip, so that's why the rear end's like way high. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, I guess this car is in such nice shape, the miles are so low. If I do the few things it needs, which by the way, that door is indented, the trim's just peeling off. which that's an easy fix. But if I fix the AC, the only other things I noticed, which aren't even necessary to do, but again, to get this thing truly 100%, I think I remember the rear shocks are starting to leak some oil. The ride is perfect. The front struts are fine. So maybe addressing that. I'm trying to think, was there anything else wrong with it? I don't think so. You know, I get confused because whenever I look at these cars, I'm always making shit up to get the price down. Or I'll exaggerate issues to get the price down. But I don't think there's anything else wrong with it. I really don't. The alignment in the front, when they put these tires on the classic cheap alignment, they didn't realign the steering wheel, so the steering wheel is slightly to the right, but it drives straight. So that's something I like to take care of. But not necessary per se. But look at this engine. You know, the engine bay isn't clean, but the engine itself is nice and dry. A teeny tiny little bit of seeping starting on the valve cover, but it's just started. Oh, this is my other concern with the car. The ball joints are all new. I checked all that, but the control arm bushings here are pretty dry rotted. So I don't know. I don't feel any issues with it. Everything is tight, but that could probably, as soon as these bushings fall out, that's going to obviously be an issue. These will be bouncing around. This is such a typical 15 to 20-year-old used car issue. So I don't think I mentioned it, or I might have mentioned it way earlier in the video, but I've got the title for the Civic. I put it up for sale last night. I have it up for $2,500, and I've got somebody who just called me actually right as I turned the camera off that wants to come see it tonight. So we'll see what this guy offers. Somewhere around $2,200 he can take it away, but I have a feeling he's gonna come and say, I'll give you $1,500. I'm gonna tell him to go fuck himself. I just did my classic oil restoration trick on the headlights in the Grand Marquis. Already makes it like a brand new car. It'll be easy to buff out these few scuffs in the body. They're just superficial, but I'm gonna take it now before these guys show up and put some gas in her. Well, just my luck, this might not be as good of a buy as I thought it was. Doing something weird. I'm hoping it's something stupid like spark plugs, or coil pack or something. But under heavy acceleration, sometimes getting like a bucking. It feels like it's coming from the rear end of the car. Now, I don't know if it's the actual rear end, but I have the paperwork, and the rear end oil was always changed, which is something no one ever bothers doing. So I don't think that would be it. And it wasn't wet, the cover. It was nice and dry. Unless someone put the wrong oil in it, but like now it's fine. See, the problem is, when I test drove this car, it was already unregistered and uninsured. It was just around my neighborhood. I never got it up to pass like 35 miles an hour. And I wasn't too worried about it because I knew I was going to end up paying for check engine. And there we go. So that kind of relieves me actually, because I was thinking transmission at first. But I think with these cars, the overdrive, does this have overdrive off? Yeah. I think with the Fords, the overdrive light will flash on and off when it's a transmission problem. And the transmission's rebuilt. The fluid's pink. It's perfect. There's no slipping, so I don't think it's that. Maybe we got an issue. I was just at the auto parts store. I wish this could have happened then. I'm going to go back in and it's bucking again. I'm going to go have my buddy over there read the code for me. Hopefully it stays on. But usually flashing check engine light on a Ford would be plugs or the coil pack or something like that, which isn't the end of the world, but it kind of sucks. This thing was running like a real cream puff when I bought it. But now I can feel it's kind of running. Whoa, it scared the shit out of me. Now I can feel it's kind of running real shitty. So, I don't know, maybe, you know what sucks? This thing had another check engine light went off. Well, that sucks. This thing had no fucking gas in it when I bought it. I don't know if it pulled some crap up from the bottom of the tank or what. It's got a new fuel pump, but I don't know. See, now I'm putting my foot in the floor. Now it's okay. Weird. You know, I think while the auto parts store is open, I'm going to grab some snake oil, typical injector cleaner, the Techron shit. It's actually worked for me before on a number of vehicles, so, I mean, this car has been sitting, not too long, but it's funny, it was fine until I put gas in it. So what the fuck are we doing? So I'm gonna see if that helps. Putting this crap in, I hope it'll work. At least it was buy one get one. So if it doesn't, the problem is you're supposed to add this and the tank is empty. And you saw it was fucking bone dry, and I put the gas in, not thinking this would happen. So now it's got 5 gallons in it, but so I'm gonna put this whole bottle in. At least I got an extra bottle if it doesn't do it this time, but I don't know, it kind of sucks. I'm heading out of town, so I'm not gonna be able to figure out what it is till I get back after the weekend. This son of a bitch. I just pulled out of AutoZone, the fucking check engine light comes on, now it's solid. So, and it's doing the bucking again. So I don't know, I'm gonna turn around I guess, and hopefully it stays on and I'll have to run the code. Well, fuck me, I just got back from AutoZone and let me shut this beautiful machine down. Fucking unbelievable. Not a big deal, but kind of annoying because the car was running so nice when I looked at it. I let it sit, I let it idle. I even checked it a second time today because it's been a few days since I had driven it and test drove it. Took it for another spin again, and even on an empty tank, it was running beautifully, right? I mean, you look at this car, it's real well maintained. I guess I should have expected this because of the miles. I mean, the fact that a lot of the parts are original in the car, I'm sure, with 85K, and it's light use. So it's got the full printout from AutoZone. Already not a good sign, right? So here's what we got for codes they pulled. Got a PO 304, which is cylinder 4 is misfiring. Also have a, that's the same thing, PO 304. And this one is weird. It kind of makes me nervous, but maybe I shouldn't worry about it. I'm going to do some Googling on it. I've heard of this before. I just don't remember if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Or not a good thing, but something not to worry about. Cylinder head over temperature protection active. As far as I can tell, this thing's running cool as a fan. I mean, the temp gauge never got above the halfway mark where it should be. And I don't feel it over. I mean, I'm going to check the engine bay. You can kind of usually tell if an engine's abnormally hot. But that might just have something to do with the fact that it's misfiring and it's just the car's computers and all sorts of weird shit. But let me see if this feels. I mean, I have a 4.6 Mustang right over there, so let's see. I mean, no, it feels completely normal. I think you guys are going to laugh at me thinking that's a way to measure the heat, but you can tell when a car is overheating between steam and just the fact that it's so blazing hot when you open the hood. This thing feels cool. I just shut it off, as you saw. It's got a coolant reservoir's full, so I don't think there's anything to worry about there. I'm going to look into the code anyway, and you know, of course, everybody in the forums gives you the worst case scenario. I don't think I told you guys I sold the Aurora. I sold the Aurora for $1,100, which isn't huge, but I bought the thing for $500, and I spent $50 on the frickin' what's it called? The crankshaft sensor. I didn't have to retitle that car, so it was the rest of it was profit. So what's that? That's $550 profit, and yes, that was an easy one to sell. All right, so I did a little digging online, and I figured out what the problem is. So the intake manifold in these cars, there's a little nipple that comes off the back of it by, ironically, cylinder number 4 that goes to a heater hose for, which I'm assuming is the heater core. And forgive the poor lighting. Actually, let me stop the clip and turn my light on. So here's that heater hose, and you can see, I didn't see this when but even if I had, I would have thought, okay, no big deal. It's just a hose that's worn out or loose, but I don't know if you guys can see it. There's pooling up coolant around the bottom of that hose, and well, there you go. There's ignition coil number 4 on cylinder number 4, and there's all pools of coolant on it. Now, to me, that looked like motor oil because it was so dirty, and I figured, okay, there must be a minor oil leak up here somewhere, or you know, something like this. One of these little fittings is leaking some oil, no big deal. I thought nothing of it, because look at how clean the top of these other these ignition coils are. Then you got this one, it's all brown, it's covered with something. So, but again, overall, everything's pretty dry around here. If I saw a whole pool of fluid of some sort around here, I would have been more concerned, but that was so minor. I said to myself, that's no big deal. Well, it is. So there's like a 95% chance I'm going to have to replace the intake manifold in this car, which isn't the end of the world. I've done a few intake manifold jobs, all on GM cars. You know, they're time consuming, but it's nothing that even an amateur can't handle. It's just getting all this shit out of the way to pull the intake manifold out. The intake manifold itself is cheap, and there's some better aftermarket options that are aluminum as opposed to the plastic, which will prevent this from happening again. Kind of sucks. I'm hoping I can get away with fixing that nipple instead of replacing the whole intake manifold, but from what I've read online, it's almost impossible. It always becomes a problem again. But the leak doesn't look that bad. The pictures I was seeing online, it was like really fucking bad. Like there was coolant everywhere. You can tell this engine hasn't been cleaned, so I don't think the guy was wiping it up before I came over, because you would see a difference just in the dirt on that side of the valve cover. So I think this just started, which is good. I don't want the car running that way for too long with a miss, because it will destroy the catalytic converter, obviously. So I have to imagine it's probably a new issue, as much as I hate to say it. And I can't find my fucking, I was gonna pop the ignition coil out and see how wet things were in there and try to clean it up and see if it improved the condition, but I've got my 7mm, but I can't find the little fucking thing to make it fit on the ratchet head. And I've been looking everywhere, and it's getting late, and I'm heading out of town tomorrow morning, so might just have to wait till I get back, which sucks, because I like to at least, you know, fuck with it and see if I pull that coil out and clean it and put it back in. If the misfire goes away, at least I know, okay, that's what it is. Because I want to let it run and see if it overheats. So kind of a shitty situation. I mean, it's not the end of the world. The car seemed to run really well up to this point, so I don't think if it ever did overheat, I think that the fail-safe, if it did actually come on, protected it, because the engine seems to run really well, with the exception of this. So no knocking or anything weird like that. The oil looked good and shit like that. So I don't know. It just sucks. Really sucks. But that's part of the game when you're buying these $300 to $500 cars. You know, some of them are a total hit, like the Aurora there, which crankshaft sensor, and out it went. You know, sold that baby for $1,100. But others are like this, where you think you've got a cream puff and you get it home and you're already dumping hundreds of dollars into it. So yeah, I'm gonna try to fix that nipple when I get back from my trip on that heater hose there, and deal with that coil situation, and hopefully that takes care of it. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.